Alright, so the war map was like this. We got North American Union versus the International Alliance, which include UK, Turkey, Iran, Antarctica, Cuba, and the Incan Empire. And the war happened as a defensive pact with the International Alliance. How the International Alliance came to be was that the North American Union was threatening to overpower Europe and UK novel. Hearing that made an international alliance to stop the North American Union from taking over Europe. I was the first member to join the alliance with the UK. That was Antarctica. The next country that followed was the Ethiopian Empire. The next one was Cuba, then the Incan Empire, then Iran, then Turkey. I was the weakest of the bunch, but they all focused on manpower. I focused on submarines because since the war was generally happening in this area, I didn't need to do as much. And so I was building a submarine fleet that would sail from my port to here to wreak havoc on the troops that were in the sea, which gave the proper time for Cuba to resupply and fight again. But how the war initially started, well, the first battles of the war was that China, which controlled this territory right here, was invading from this side. And they were getting pretty decently far. But the major downside was that they didn't have the island of Hawaii right here. They kept on passing by, which led to most of their incursions failing, and they've been fighting for 2 years before we joined in. And then, fed up with the North American Union constantly threatening my allies, I declared war on them, which made me send out my entire U-boat fleet to the Caribbeans because I needed to help Cuba fight off them. With my U-boats on the way there for a month, it was a period of no fighting between me and North American Union. No fighting whatsoever till my U-boats got here. Once they got there, the rest of my allies declared war on the North American Union. So now Cuba became the front lines of everything. The UK was building up manpower to send to Cuba or just to attack the mainland. But what they did instead, they sent 100,000 troops up here to fight. Well, that which turned out to be a massive failure of the UK. So now they have to rebuild their army. In the meantime, the North American Union was pushing Cuban territory here, and Cuba was forced to hold their position, and North American Union was sending troops through the water to hit this point, which gave me enough opportunity to sink a ton of their fleet, most of their fleet, but they still managed to push around to here. That's where they got to. But what the Cubans holding out, they retaliated and retook all that territory. and my U-boats were still causing havoc here. And now the Incan Empire finally starts send wait finally starts sending troops to fight in Mexico. So they're fight. This is right here, an entire war zone. The Mexican region is just a war zone, but most that's but then Turkey sends some troops, send like 100,000 troops right here. It was a miserable attack, which costed the Turkish military greatly, but due to the attack on the capital, it gave enough time for the UK, Ethiopian Empire, and Iran to send most of their armies here to that area into Florida. Why Florida? I have no idea. But before those armies got there, right here in this small area, started a major war zone, which required my U-boats to go from here to there to help defend off the attack. And at this point, China already has troops stationed there, and China is now making a major push on two fronts, like so. The UK gets here first and starts a push into Florida. The Chinese front failed, will accept in this region, and the UK managed to push and recapture and capture this entire area right here, except the capital. But sad thing is, they pushed out. Now the war has been going on for well over 8 years. I, my country of Antarctica, is suffering greatly from multiple factors, mainly that we were broke and we had high corruption. So the U-boats were still fighting, but I was getting riots, a ton of them. So was the UK, but Cuba was still holding on. So this right here, these are our new frontliners. They're doing everything they can to push into the capital, and each push failed. Ethiopia, their entire army was reduced in Florida. they just have ships stationed there now fighting. Turkey still still recovering from their push on the capital, and Iran landed their troops right there, which was a major blunder for them because they lost most of their attacking power, so they fell back. Now, in the ninth year of the war, um, the North American Union pushed all the way down here, and the Incan Empire, seeing this, landed troops here. And with that support, they managed to push them back and pushed up to Mexico City. And now we gained more of a foothold here, and this territory stayed, which was good. But the UK, unable to muster up another major force to send another attack into the territory, decides to sign a peace treaty with the North American Union. And while the peace talks are happening, North American Union sends a North American Union sends a attack right here, pushing them back here. So now the borders are no borders changed, and this leads to that major loss leads to the UK not having any leverage on them. So the UK, Cuba, and Turkey decide to sign a peace treaty with them. So now they're knocked out of the war. So now UK, Turkey, and so they're out of the war now. So it's just the Incan Empire, Iran, and them fighting, and the Ethiopian Empire the and Antarctica fighting. And now the Incans are under threat of a major invasion. So I sail over here to intercept most of what they're doing, but before that, they surrendered. Iran surrenders, and the Ethiopian Empire surrenders. So that just leaves me standing with China fighting, well, sinking. I'm just sinking their ships, which then leads me, after 10 years of war, leads me to surrender. But the remaining conflict leads China and the North American Union still fighting for another 5 years until both sides surrendered, which leads the end of the Caribbean War